Today it is Saturday, which means it is parkrun day and we are off to Colby Parkrun. Colby Parkrun is located to the southwest side of Wales near the seaside town of Saundersfoot and Tenby, so they're probably the most well-known places nearby. And the run is all around the National Trust place called Colby Woodland Gardens, which is absolutely beautiful. So it is actually Colby Parkrun's 10th anniversary, so we are going to be celebrating their 10th birthday, which is amazing. Can't believe they've been going on for that long. I've only been in parkrun for a year, so they've done really well to keep it going, and it's still very popular by the looks of it. And it is beautiful, the paths as well, so definitely go and check this one out. The course is a 3-lap undulating course. I'll probably move to the slightly hilly side as it is a little bit challenging in some of the sections. And the course is ran on gravel paths, compacted earth and grass, so I definitely recommend taking trail shoes to this course. Although as it was dry on the day, road shoes would have been completely fine and you wouldn't be slipping over all over the place. Unfortunately, at Colby Parkrun, as the paths are quite narrow, dogs are prohibited from this course. However, it is buggy/pram friendly, so if you've got a buggy/pram, you can bring that. And also there are toilets right close to the start of the course, so you don't need to worry about that either. With it being at a National Trust Centre, it is beautiful, and even if you are not doing the run and you're just spectating maybe some family or friends, I definitely recommend just taking a little stroll around the gardens. There's lots to do, lots to see, and then a cafe as well on site, which is perfect. With it being an undulating course, too slightly hilly, I wouldn't give this one a PB potential, especially as it is fairly busy at the start as well, so you can get caught behind a couple of people. However, I do think it does depend on the time of the year when you go to how busy it is, because as it is the summer months at the moment, it is a lot busier in the seaside towns like Tenby. But before we go any further, if you don't know what a parkrun is, it is essentially a 5k run which is run by a group of volunteers who both time and marshal the event. It is all completely free, and you also get sent via email your official time and finish position. And now let's take a look at a summary of the course. So like we said earlier, 3 laps undulating course, as you can see in that top left hand corner. The elevation gains about 74 metres with a max elevation of 45, and as we said, a few bottlenecks on the course as well where you can get stuck behind a couple of people, especially at the start. But it's a good course, it's a stunning one, but it's not going to be a PB one. Now let's take a look in a bit more detail. So you're going to start here at the Colby Woodland Garden entrance, make your way downhill before turning right. This is still a little gradual decline before you hit gravel paths. This turns into a bit of a bottleneck in this section, especially at the start. Towards the middle, the second and third laps, it does open up a lot more, so that's okay. You cross a little bridge as well, so do be careful at that section, because that is definitely when it is the most compact. Then you're going to start making your way uphill back on earth paths before turning left. This continues to go uphill until you get to about the centre of this side, and then it is going to return to downhill. Then there is a left turn, which is quite a sharp 90-degree bend around a tree. You're going to make your way downhill a little bit further before turning right, and you're going to head your way back uphill. This is a little bit steeper than the uphill previously. You're then going to follow this compacted earth path all the way down to the south to this section here before you do a U-turn. You then head your way all the way back towards where you started. It is going to be a little bit of undulating land followed by a slight uphill before you then turn left and do that lap another 2 times. Then once you've done that lap another 2 times, you head your way back up towards where you started, and that is where the finish line is, right next to the cafe of the Colby Woodland Gardens. So that's the course, and now let's take a look at some of the fastest times set at Colby Parkrun. So the fastest male at Colby Parkrun was Simon Knott with a time of 15 minutes and 43 seconds. Absolute speed demon there. The fastest female is Amelia Petit, I believe, with a time of 17 minutes and 29 seconds. Again, incredibly fast, with the average number of runners being 158 at this parkrun, with an average time of 29 minutes and 38 seconds. So they are the incredible records. And now let's take a look at some on my GoPro stats, which were a lot slower than those. So number of locations which I've done now is 32 with 47 park runs completed in total. My best finish position was 4th, which was at Zaloni Jar, and you can check out all of the park runs in my worldwide park run playlist. My fastest time was at Summerdale Pavilion with a time of 22:32, and that goes all the way down to Riverfront with a time there of 23 minutes and 10 seconds. But I don't think this course today is going to make it onto the leaderboard, but we'll have to find out. And that we will. We are now at the start of the Colby Parkrun. You can see it is pretty busy, quite congested, and we're sort of wedged in around other people. The run director just going through a few little things about the 10th year of running, so it's been amazing all the years that they have done it. And then they were just explaining about all the different volunteers who've got big milestones and other people which have got milestones, where people have come from, all the way from New York, I believe, was the furthest, which is crazy. And then we are just about to get going. So we're going to set off in 3, 2, 1. We're going, and here we go. Let's see how well we can do in Colby Parkrun. So as you can see, really congested at the start. I had to slow down maybe a few little times already. It is downhill as well, so be careful not to trip anybody up. Quite a lot of youngsters here as well on the day, but you can see we're just working our way down to the gravel path now. So this is nice. Look how stunning the woodland area is. Just looking around, and you'll see it much more as we run around too. You can see the bridge there in the distance, which we are going to have to cross in just a second, but not much overtaking at the moment, as we don't want to trip anyone up or get caught up in anyone's legs. So as you can see there, 100 park runs. This is their number 100. Incredible stuff. Well done to them. We're now going to make our way uphill for this section as we make our way into the sort of more compacted earth area. So this is still kind of gravelly paths, and then we're turning left onto the compacted earth, more of that. And here we go. So this is going to be uphill now until we hit about the center line of the map there on that left hand side, and then it is going to be downhill from there. And so there we go, we are about halfway, and you might be able to see this is probably the top now before we start heading our way downhill again. So that is that uphill section, and this is why it's a little bit undulating. Slow uphills followed by slow downhills, or fast uphills and fast downhills as well, as you will see later on. It's began to space out a little bit as well, which is great, so we can now run at our own pace. We're trying to take it a little bit easier this week because this is the first part run back since twisting my ankle and spraining it about 3-4 weeks ago, and we did the Cwms Bridge park run, which you can check out. I've got a whole playlist with all of the different park runs, so feel free to check that out. I was just checking there that the GoPro was recording, which thankfully it was, and let's go towards the downhill section. So as you can see, the downhills are much quicker than the uphills, and this is the tree that I was on about. As we turn left now, still follow the path downhill. Be a bit careful here because it is gravel, so you don't want to sort of skid over. Obviously it was dry on the day, so you're less likely to skid over, but there's people flying past the downhills and then slowing on the uphills, which is what I tend to do as well. So you'll notice the guy in the blue top about 2 people ahead of us now, and we kept sort of overtaking him on the downhills, and he'd overtake me on the uphills. So it was a good little battle there between us two to keep me going, because I was struggling on this one. But this is now the push uphill towards a sort of flat section, and we're going to head towards the U-turn at the far south of the course. So as you can see, it's still all on earth paths as we make our way to the U-turn, which is here. So thank you very much to the volunteer there at the U-turn. We're going to turn around, and now we're going to head towards the start of the park run. You may see on the map in that left-hand side as well, there's like a straight line which cuts across at the top. That's not part of the course. I'm not sure why that has appeared on there, so you can ignore that. So as you may be able to see, since that U-turn, it has pretty much been all uphill from here. You'll see the elevation start to increase from the 20s to the 30s now, and then it will increase even further as we go past and to head towards the right-hand side. But we're doing quite well at the moment, 1.3 kilometers in, running at a pace of about 5:25, which is slower than I would like, but that was a little bit of an uphill section there. So hopefully when we get back to the downhill sections, we can make up for the lost time there. So as you can see, this section is quite a steep uphill at the moment on that gravel path. The elevation there, the bottom right, is now into the 40 meter section. It's still heading uphill for the rest of this line. It for some reason feels like the uphills are much longer than the short hills and much more difficult as well. A little bit blurry footage as well. I think it's because of all the cover from the trees, so I do apologise for that. But it's now downhill, like on the opposite side, where once you hit that middle section, you're going to head downhill, and then that is going to be lap 1 complete. But if you're enjoying, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe if you are new as well. We try and get a park run done every week. Recently I've been a little bit injured, so I'm trying to sort of cut down on the number of park runs, which I do, but we will still aim to get quite a few park runs out every month. But we're now heading our way downhill, back to that left hand turn and back to the grass section with the gravel in the centre. So there are the volunteers cheering us on as we complete lap 1 and head off into the distance on the gravel again. So for some reason the quality is really good when we hit this bit. It might be something to do with the low light. I will have to check that out. But yes, like I said, if you want to check out any of the other park runs, I will leave a link to the playlist in the description below. And also if you want any information on the elevation at any sections of this course, you can also check out my Strava, which is in the description below too. So thank you everyone again on the sidelines for cheering us on as we now make our way into lap 2 and towards the uphill. So we are about 10 minutes in now, going strong as we hit that peak as well on that right hand side, and now we're going to head our way back downhill again towards the bottom section of the course on the south side, which I'd probably say is harder. The first half I'd say is a lot easier than the second half, so if you're trying to pace yourself, do take into consideration the second half of this run is a lot harder than the first for each lap, and that is my opinion. Maybe other people will disagree, especially at the end on the third lap. Doing that uphill section, it is not easy, but the weather was perfect. You can see it was sunny day, which is good. If it was wet, maybe it would be a little bit slippy, maybe there'd be puddles in places. Someone will have to let me know in the comments below whether that is the case in the wet rainy days. But we are now heading our way down the steeper side of this course. Again, 10 years of this course is amazing, so happy birthday to Colby Parkrun. So here is the second bridge which we have to cross, which I actually did forget in the summary at the start. I forgot there was a second bridge to this, but there is one just there. As you saw, we crossed that, but it obviously spaces out a lot more so you're not congested and getting stuck behind people. You can see there on the left as well, pushchairs and prams are okay to take, but dogs, obviously you've not seen any dogs because they are not allowed at this course. You can probably see why, because it is very compact. But we are now heading back towards that U-turn. We're doing really well at the moment, quite happy. Half the time has gone and we are just over 12 minutes into this, just under 12 minutes into this run, so not too bad. And now the downhill to the U-turn. Coming up to that U-turn, which means we've got 1.5 laps remaining. I'm starting to slow down as well, as we usually do when we hit that 3 to 4 kilometers mark, and then the last kilometer is back up to pace again. But we're now heading our way back uphill from 25 meters, so as you notice, well, 24 now, 24 to 25 meters, heading our way back uphill towards the start, which goes up to about 40 meters. So there's quite a lot of elevation in just this one half of the course. So as you can see there on the left hand side, that's the people completing that bridge section, but we are going back off to the right to go uphill towards the start again. We're currently 3 kilometers in with a time of probably about 14 minutes, just over 14 minutes, and it is pretty decent to be honest at the moment. I'm quite happy with how I'm getting it on. I didn't think I'd be able to do it as quick as I am doing it because of the injury which I had previously, so I'm quite happy with my time at the moment. I am slowing a little bit though, as there are quite a lot of uphills like this which I am finding pretty difficult. I always find the uphill downhill is the hard bit. Obviously I'm a lot quicker on the flats, everyone's going to find that, but I do find that uphills a lot harder than a lot of people. I find I slow down, so I need to maybe pace myself better or just try and improve the strength in my legs. But we're now heading up towards the start to complete that last lap. Lap 2 complete, turning off for that final lap. Can we beat 25 minutes? Because that is always the target for every one of these park runs, and especially when they're hillier, I do still try and get under that 25-minute time. but we're doing quite well. Currently running at a pace of about 4:30 to 4:40, so if we keep that up, we should be able to beat 25 minutes quite easily. Elevation's at 28 meters right now, so we're going to start heading our way back uphill on the left-hand side section of this course. So remarkably, when I was actually watching this, I thought I'd take a quick look at what my splits were. And my first split was 4:37, my first kilometre. My second one was 4:52. Third one was 4:39. Fourth one is 4:51. And my last is 4:47. So my slowest kilometre was actually the second kilometre. So I must have realised when I started that I maybe went off a little bit too quickly and slowed down just that little bit too much. So that was actually my slowest, which is a surprise because usually you'll find it is the third or fourth kilometre. And downhill we go, thanking that marshal for the last time. A couple of people there stood to the side, thank you to them too, letting past the quicker runners. We're now heading our way back towards that U-turn on the bottom side, crossing over this bridge here. My girlfriend also attended this park run. She did very well too, and I hope you're all enjoying these little drone shots, which I've started doing now because I'm definitely enjoying them. It gives you a different perspective of the course and it makes it look really cool. As you can see, it does get a little bit busier in this sort of section now where there's lots of different runners at different speeds, but it's still fine. It's quite a wide path, so I can see you've got enough room really for sort of 4 or 5 runners in a row next to each other, so it's easy to overtake people or keep in your lane on the right or the left hand side. And that's the U-turn complete for that final time, and it is the last long straight to the finish line, so half a lap to go, but it is all uphill, so it is a killer here, this final section. The last little bit as well is slightly steeper uphill too, so you actually end up at a higher elevation than you started, but only just by a couple of meters. But at this rate, it looks like we are going to beat 25 minutes, and hopefully if we keep at this pace, we should definitely do so. Obviously, you can see in that bottom right-hand corner, we slow down at the uphills to about 5 to 5:30 minute splits, so hopefully we can speed that up a little bit for this last lap. And now we are making our way up the hill for the final time. You can see we are struggling a lot more this section. It's very steep and we have done all of that previous bit of the run, but we are coming up towards that finish line now. Only about a quarter of a lap to go, and then we will hit that finish where hopefully there is a coffee and cake waiting for us at the end. As you can see as well, the two in front of us have started to pull away. Someone walking there on the right hand side as well. We're now going to start trying to pick up the pace that little bit more, so we're over 5 minutes now, going towards the 4:45 section, the speed which we are running at. We are now heading our way to the finish line. You can see it maybe in the distance at the far end. A couple of people who have finished are heading their way down to cheer people on as well. So thank you to those. They ran at a very fast pace. I believe that guy that we passed just then may have come in first position. We're now sprinting to the finish. We're trying to catch up with the two in front of us. The blue tops man has beaten us, unfortunately, and the lady there ahead of us just as well. We're trying to speed up right at the end. Can we get a good time? It looks like we're going to get under 24:30. And yes, we get a time of 24:24. It's quite a steep little uphill there at the end. Thank you very much for the finish token too. And as you can see in the distance behind, there is actually tables and chairs to the cafe, which is perfect. So that's Colby Parkrun complete, ticking off another C, which is actually the 6th letter C parkrun, which I have done so far. So we really need to try getting some other letters on that leaderboard. It also means we are 1 C away from completing the Pirates Challenge on the 5K app as well, if you know what that is. As we thought, this course was not a PB potential. It was too undulating up and down, so there was no chance of you getting a PB on this, especially if you've done a lot of the other flat courses. However, we did come 25th, which was fairly high up in the positions rating, so maybe you could get quite a high position at this course. As I've said multiple times now, it is a beautiful park run, stunning gardens. Colby Woodland Gardens is to look around, and there's a lot of little trails which you can walk around to in the woodlands. But before we carry on, we have to say a massive thank you to all of the volunteers who were there on the day, because without them, the course would not go ahead. They've been going there for 10 years, some of those. So very impressive to those, and thank you again to the run director for telling us all about the 10 years of Colby Parkrun. But as we do with every park run, we go through a couple of the pinch points as to why it is not a PB potential. So first pinch point, busy. So busy at the start, a couple of bottleneck sections as well, so you may lose a few sections there at the start especially. Number 2 is the undulating course, so it's up, down, definitely going to slow down the uphills for sure. And then the third main one is probably the U-turn at the end. Maybe in the wetter weathers you'd have ones like the trail course, being a bit wet and boggy and things like that, maybe a bit slippy, so that would slow you down. But for the day, it is only those 3 main pinch points which I noticed. And as usual, at the end of the video, we go through a few tips and tricks for the Colby Parkrun. So let's start off with public transport. So if you want to get there by train, the closest station to Colby Parkrun is the Kilgetty station, which is only about a 7-minute car from there, a 1-hour walk, or a 47-minute bus. So I'd probably recommend getting a taxi from there. In terms of buses, there are a couple of stops, but they are fairly far away from the course. So you have the Summerhill Park one, which is 32-minute walk, or you have the Amroth Castle stop, which is about a 24-minute walk. So 2 stops there, probably the closest to the start of the park run. And then finally, if you want to drive to the venue, there is the Colby Woodland Garden car park, which is literally less than 1 minute walk to the start line, and that is free before 10 a.m. so anyone can park there. But if you do want to park there after 10 a.m, it is a £3.50 charge for half a day or £7 for the full day. However, if you have a National Trust card, as it is a National Trust site, then the parking is completely free. And then, as you may have seen there at the end, there is the Cafe Woodland Garden tea room, so you can go and get cakes and drinks from there. And there is also the toilets, which is literally next door to there, right at the start line. So perfect position, running literally through the finish line into a cafe. You can't actually ask for much more. So that is all the tips and tricks which I have for this park run. But if you do have any tips and tricks, do make sure to let me know down in that comment section below, and I'll try and pin them up to the top so that everyone can see them. But in terms of my GoPro stats, not much changes. So the number of park runs does increase to 48, with the number of locations increasing to 33. So we're almost at 50 park runs now, which is incredible. My best finish position was 4th, which was at Zaloni Jar still, and then all my fastest times have stayed the same too, as this one was definitely not a PB course. So that is it for Colby Parkrun, and I hope you all did enjoy, and if you did, don't forget to hit that like button, and if you are new, subscribe as well if you want to see the park runs every week. So last week, we actually ended up volunteering as I was injured at Summerdale Pavilion Park Run as a timekeeper, so you can go check that out. Or you can go and check out all my other park runs in the worldwide park run playlist, where there's a lot more where I ran in. Next week though, we are heading off to Worcester Pitchcroft Park Run, which should be a lot easier as it is a lot flatter than this course. So I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one.